You're tuned in to Super Talk 1270 and Free for All Friday. Compelling local talk at 11 o'clock. Free for All Friday features groups and organizations that are plugged into progress here in Central North Dakota. Our rotating panel includes members of the Bismarck Downtowners, the Mandan Progress Organization, the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber of Commerce, and representatives from Pride of Dakota. You're invited to call in and join the discussion. It's Free for All Friday on Super Talk 1270.
Good morning and thank you for tuning in. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. Glad to be with all the listeners this morning to talk again about housing. Now, our association has been extremely busy this past month. In fact, one of our guests is back with us. We always enjoy having her. Last time around, we were talking about the Parade of Homes, the Fall Parade of Homes. We just wrapped that up at the end of September. Thank you to everyone out there who attended by stopping in and taking a peek at this fabulous new construction that our builders are making available to the community. Had a wonderful time there. Happy to announce great participation from the community's perspective. And because of your participation, the association is able to make a substantial contribution, and stay tuned for additional details on that, to Homes for Our Troops, which is constructing its first mortgage-free home for a veteran here in Bismarck. And so today we're going to be talking again about housing, since that's what we do and do it well. But this time around, we're going to talk about one demographic group in particular. Yes, our eyes are on you millennials. So if you are Generation Y, stay tuned. If you feel like piping in, you can call the station. Otherwise, sit back and let us share some statistics about you as a generation. We'll see if some of the predictions and statements that are shared across the national industry when it comes to home building represent you accurately, or if North Dakota, like most things, just isn't the norm. So joining me this morning, I've got a couple special guests. As I referenced earlier, she is a regular, and we appreciate her insight and expertise. Lindsay Matter from Starian Financial, who's a mortgage lender, will share her experience working with millennials, talk about some opportunities for home ownership for that group in particular. And then also happy to bring on a new guest today, and his name is Kenneth Watkins. Welcome, Kenneth. Kenneth is with Red Door Homes, and he is a new home specialist. So quite often among the mix of buyers, millennials is one group in particular he's got some experience with. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it is all about millennials today, as if they don't get enough attention, right? That's one of the things that I think other generations talk about when it comes to millennials, is it's always the center of attention has to be devoted to millennials. But what we're going to find are some misnomers and misconceptions about this generation. But we will talk about some oversights when it comes to observations that researchers have indicated when it comes to millennials. So first, I'd like to talk about kind of who millennials are. And for either of you, if you want to chime in, when it comes to millennials, we think about kind of one of the youngest generations that are out there in the workforce today. These are the folks that a lot of times grew up with technology from day one. So they had access to iPhones, iPads, tablets, the internet at a very early age. So tech-savvy group. They also are the generation that's been pegged with some delays. They've made some delays in some of those decisions that seem to come quite quicker for most other generations. That includes establishing their own household, perhaps marrying, or starting a family. And it seems like this generation is taking a little bit longer to get to those milestones that previous generations had accomplished much sooner. But that doesn't mean there's a lack of motivation. And Lindsay, I'd encourage you to kind of share some of the observations that you've been able to make as we prepare to talk about this age group in particular. Now, the millennials have been pegged with, I think, unfortunately, being kind of lazy, right? That they're choosing not to purchase their first home as quickly as other generations, that they've chosen not to start a family or chosen not to move out of their basement of their parents' home. But you've seen otherwise.
Yeah, I have. Typically, us as millennials, we have been tagged as a little bit slower just to get started. To, like Dot had mentioned, to start a family or to get married or maybe to move out of mom and dad's basement. But I'll tell you that I've seen the opposite, especially right here in North Dakota. Again, typically millennials are tagged, with some slow starting, but maybe a reason for it here locally or nationwide is that they're maybe carrying a very large student loan debt load that is maybe prohibiting them from getting into their first home. Or just are taking maybe lesser paying jobs right off the cuff. But like I said, I would say right here in North Dakota, and with the job market that we have and our affordable housing, we've just been the complete opposite. So a lot of opportunities for excellent careers, career paths, and even more excellent opportunities for affordable housing.
Absolutely. And I think it's so interesting when you look at millennials. There are some statistics that nationwide, prove the fact that they're kind of slower to enter to these milestones that we've experienced as older generations. One of them being a statistic that points to the fact that on average, they're waiting 5 years longer to get married compared to previous generations. The other thing, as far as giving birth, the average age at first birth in 2006 was 25. That's versus 21 back in 1970. And a lot of the delays, I think, in one article, Lindsay, that you had pointed out earlier before we came on air, is the fact that to say that this generation is choosing to delay these milestones, I think is kind of an injustice to that generation. It's the predicament that they've come into with the economy and the availability and access to careers. And I recall, going to college, and many of my fellow graduates pursued additional education, so went on to get their master's or their doctorates, not because they necessarily wanted to do that and to incur the student debt that goes along with that decision to pursue additional education, but out of necessity, because there just wasn't a whole lot of options available for immediate employment for a lot of my classmates. And so now you're seeing that this generation that was kind of forced into, because it was the best scenario at the time, additional education, out of necessity delaying those decisions. But now that we've got that availability, particularly in North Dakota, and we have those options for millennials, it's really exciting to see what is that's available for them. In your experience with millennials, Kenneth, have you seen kind of limited number of millennials versus any other age group coming in and requesting information about new construction?
We see a really good mix of buyers across the board. And millennials here are definitely more educated than any other group that we encounter. They also have really great jobs here because of the economy in North Dakota. So, we have properties where they begin at $197,000, $990,000 all the way up to the $400,000s, and we see millennials buying on both of those
spectrums.
Yep.
So let's talk about buying power, because that's one thing I wanted to address. And again, you think millennials, and it's so hard to put things into perspective as incomes have increased, and just the fact that this is a very educated group of individuals, the salaries that they're able to obtain as a result of that higher education allows them to afford their entry-level houses at a much higher expense than those of us who didn't have that opportunity or didn't exercise that option. So, Lindsay, from your perspective, one of the issues across the country, again, North Dakota just being out a shining star on its own, across the country is their access to capital, and the fact that because they have gone through a lot of higher education, their student debt load is substantial, and they can't access capital. I mean, is that something that you're finding true in the Bismarck-Mandan community?
I would say that it's prevalent, and I would be being dishonest too if I said that I didn't recognize the amount of student debt load that borrowers are coming in and they're applying and that they're having. For our generation being millennials, it was just kind of something that was always ingrained into me. There wasn't an option to go from junior high to high school and then be done. It was junior high, high school, college, and so it was just a kind of a lifestyle that I was prepared for and conditioned to I guess, know that I was going to have that student debt. But there's so many opportunities out there with new housing programs, and we can talk more about that when we come back.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. You're listening to Super Talk 1270 with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. More with millennials, purchasing power, and what it is that they're seeking in new home construction when we return.
Right now, 34.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Super Talk 1270's Free for All Friday. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. We just got back from break, and prior to breaking, we're talking about millennials, everything millennials, this new generation of home buyers, movers and shakers, and people that will be deciding the fate of all of us. Before we broke, we were talking about millennials and specifically their purchasing power, and how, nationally, statistics indicate that they don't have much of it. And that's one of the reasons that you're not seeing them enter the home buying market as quickly as previous generations. Student loan debt is one of the biggest reasons that's preventing them from buying. However, we're seeing that North Dakota, again, is an anomaly in a good way. We've got lots of purchasing power here, including the millennial generation. Now, Lindsay was talking before we left about millennials and purchasing power. And let's talk a little bit about what considerations are made when you come in as a millennial, or any other home buyer for that matter of fact, and you need to determine exactly what it is that you can afford.
Sure. So in a standard application process, what we look at when we're trying to qualify a borrower is we look at what their current monthly income is, we look at their gross income, and then we also look at the debt that they currently have, maybe student loans and vehicle payments, credit cards, whatever it may be, along with their new payment that they're going to incur with their potential home purchase. So again, we look at the income that they have and the debt they have and take it divided by one another, and we look for their debt to income ratios to be at 45% or less. So of their gross income, we look for 45% or less of it to be used to satisfy existing debt or go towards new debt. So it gives a conservative approach to borrowers, I guess, ability to purchase, where we're not taking 100% of their income and letting it all go to the house or all go to student loans, but just a portion of it to ensure that they're still comfortable living, that they didn't have to, sell their soul for, so to say, to get into the home or to afford their new debts that they're proposing.
So one of the questions that I have, I've got a younger brother who just recently graduated from his residency program as a pharmacist. So you think pharmacist, he's making a fair salary. However, his student loan debt is substantial. Now, when he goes out and talks to a banker about the ability to purchase a home, I'm curious as far as these millennials, as they're coming up, they have hefty student loan bills, but they also have substantial paychecks. When you're looking at a percentage-wise debt-to-loan ratio, what if, though, because the student loans, traditionally you can capture a pretty low interest rate. Their payments are low, but the overall debt is high. Is that putting people in a bind?
Maybe for some people right off the cuff, or maybe for some borrowers or millennials that haven't looked into some of their different repayment options with their student loans. Student loans, I don't believe, were ever designed to drown anybody or to paralyze them from ever being able to own a home or to live comfortably financially in their life. So with the different repayment options that are out there for student loans, a person should be able to make it comfortable for their living. So, upon exit of school, if you talk with your student loan provider, Bank of North Dakota, they're excellent. Talk to them about some repayment plans to get yourself into a comfortable position so you can afford to maybe have that new house and still live and breathe and do the things that made you happy before you finished college and entered repayment. There's income-based repayments, there's a standard repayment, there's income-based, there's so many different things.
So when students are graduating, they're coming out, they're preparing to purchase a home, if you could rate priorities or prioritize the level of importance between lowering maybe your monthly obligations for student loans or other existing debt, or perhaps paying it off completely to the expense of having a down payment then for your first home. How do people manage, and what would be your recommendation to deciding whether or not I'm saving up a down payment for this house versus I'm paying off this debt first?
Sure. Well, I would say that before you make the executive decision just yourself on I'm going to knock out the student debt or I'm going to make this down payment, meet with somebody, talk to your local lender, and just weigh it out. So maybe to look at, if I have $20,000 that I've saved up, what $20,000 is going to do for my debt reduction, or what $20,000 is going to do for my down payment, and how it's going to feel. $20,000 of student loan relief may knock out a $300 monthly payment, where $20,000 on a down payment on a home may only get you $30 of relief. So to weigh it out and to talk to somebody, a lender that can really help and put you on the right path. I think that's big. The second thing would be that if you have maybe set aside a lot of your income or your savings and your heart is really set on some student loan relief or other, say, vehicle loan relief, there's several loan programs out there with zero loan payment or zero down payment options to very limited down payment options. There's just so many different ways that you can get into that home of your dreams. And again, I would just suggest starting with a lender and you guys making a plan together that will bring you to your end goal.
And I would say also, it's so important to use the right lender. Out of, we'll say, 50 different people that I have sat in front of me, maybe 2 of them have not been able to qualify. So it's important that you get in front of the right lender because there are so many different loan programs out there, and you can get qualified.
Certainly.
It's not the old where you had to put 20% down. You can get in with very little to no money down these days.
Right. So there's lots of opportunities with just, loan programs that are available nationwide and also specific ones to North Dakota. The first-time homebuyer program that's offered through North Dakota Housing Finance Agency is excellent. There's rural housing or USDA options that allow 0% down. So we as North Dakotans love to see our North Dakotans be able to stay, afford to stay, invest in homes, and really start to build some long-term wealth here. So we're looking to help you get where you're going and to set up a successful plan for you to get there.
So first and foremost, consult with others, particularly a banker, not only to find out what you qualify, dollar amount, so you can start shopping for that dream home, but also to strategize where best to put your money and where best to pinch payments. Now let's talk about, though, some of those, I guess, common missteps by millennials. What are those that exist? Now I've heard stories or references to people that come to closing. Turns out that they just got back from one of the car dealerships and bought a brand new truck, and lo and behold, they no longer can close on that new home. So what are some missteps that you see that we could share with listeners today in an effort for them to avoid those common pitfalls?
Well, you've just identified a primo one. To go out and to be purchasing that new truck before you are, just looking to enter into an engagement, possibly to build a new home or to look at buying something pre-existing. What you've just described is textbook what you don't want to do. Like I said, to meet with to a lender or a banker and for you to kind of create your strategy or your game plan of what's important to you, maybe what you have right now, what you've saved up, what your goal is to get saved up, and where you are right now and where you want to go. So as a lender, if I know what your goals are and where you're wanting to go, I can help to advise you to say, let's set aside X amount of dollars every month so that in 6 months you do have enough for a down payment, things like that. And then you tell me, possibly, I'm dying to have a new truck. So let's wait to do the truck thing until after you do this. And so just to kind of get a game plan, get people on your team that are and have everybody working towards the same common goal. So the buying the new truck before the house, that may be not your hottest idea yet.
Or the furniture before you even have the house.
Exactly.
Or changing jobs. You don't want to change jobs in the middle of your loan process either.
Yeah.
So, Kenneth, from your perspective, we're talking about common pitfalls, and Lindsay shared with us, some of the things to keep in mind. You need to have those discussions with your bankers, your lenders, so you can come up with a strategy and make sure that you don't make decisions that impact your ability to purchase a home. From your perspective, what about, as a home builder, what are some missteps that you've seen millennials take when it comes to pursuing new construction? You hear about people who get really excited about buying a lot, and then they don't realize that lot has certain restrictions. When it comes to new construction, what would you like millennials to be aware of?
I would say that, for us, we have the best locations in the area. That's something that they want. A lot of the millennials that come into our office don't realize the costs that are associated with building a new home. So what we've kind of do to narrow that down is offer products where a lot of that off-site work is already included with the purchase price. For example, our Madison Lane product, which is a community up in North Bismarck, we build 5 different plans up there. And all of the permits and water line, sewer line, all that stuff is already built into the purchase price. You can build a brand new home up there, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths for $197,990.
Yeah. You've really taken out, I know my experience with partnering with you folks at Red Door Homes is that a lot of the guesswork maybe of saying, I'm going to buy this lot and then I want to put this house shaped like this, facing this direction on here. And you don't know. It's not your industry. It's not your area of expertise. So when you are working, with somebody like Kenneth, they can help to eliminate a lot of that. I think I can do this, or I really want to do this, to tell you exactly what you can do, exactly what's going to fit, exactly what it's going to cost. Right. And they've really bundled that all. So they take out a lot of that uncertainty or, for some folks, even help them to eliminate making a costly mistake of purchasing a lot that isn't going to fit their dream homes. So,
And I think that's sage advice, both from the financing perspective, but then also from, new construction's perspective. It's all about finding the right people, and they exist and they're willing to talk to you and work you through these processes to ensure that you have a home that you can love, that you can afford, and that you can enjoy. So millennials are the topic. One thing that I think is kind of interesting is the three of us took a quick quiz prior to coming on air, and the quiz was provided by Pew Research Center. So if you want to Google out there Pew Research and take the quiz, it's called How Millennial Are You? I think it'd be fun before we take a quick break to share with those listeners how millennial each of us are. And, if you would be so kind as to share whether or not demographically you truly are a millennial based on your birth dates, and if that aligns with your results. So, Lindsay, what'd you come in at?
my millennial score, this is out of 100%. I was 94% millennial.
Yes. Now that goes along with mine, which is 90. I dropped down slightly. I think a big part of it was me electing to answer the fact that I do read the newspaper, a hard copy of the newspaper on a regular basis. Now, Kenneth, how about you?
I scored a 37.
Oh.
And he does not have gray hair or a lot of wrinkles, you guys. So it's interesting. If you want to have a little bit fun this afternoon, check out that quiz. We'll be back on Super Talk 1270. More about millennials. Please stay tuned.
Right now, 34.
You're never more than a few minutes from a weather update here on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. You're listening to Super Talk 1270 on a free-for-all Friday. I'm Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association, being joined today by Lindsay Matter, mortgage lender with Starian Financial, alongside Kenneth Watkins from Red Door Homes. He is a new home specialist, and we are talking about one generation, and that is the millennials. The millennials represent a huge group of individuals who are just primed and ready to purchase homes. Hopefully from Red Door, right?
That is correct.
So let's talk about what you're making available for this demographic. So think millennials, kind of the younger, latest generation to get into that home buying experience. I've got some information that I've been able to hone from an article provided by NAHB as far as what the millennials are looking for in homes. And some of the things that were shared, and you can tell me agree, disagree, or they're absolutely crazy for requesting this.
Okay.
So first on my list is modern flat roofs.
No, we don't build any homes with flat roofs.
Do you think it's because of the snow in North
I would
Dakota?
think so.
I would think so,
I'm
yep.
pretty sure that this was a question posed to people in larger metropolitan areas, perhaps where it's slightly warmer.
Maybe.
So let's say, yeah, modern flat roofs we don't recommend in North Dakota.
Right.
Okay, moving on to the next requirement or suggestion when it comes to millennial buyers. They want lots of wireless features and smart home technology.
Absolutely. That is one feature that we are really trying to hit home on right now. As you mentioned, the millennials are all about technology. I read yesterday that 67% of millennials would rather give up their sense of smell versus their technology.
Unreal.
So they're all about technology.
That's crazy.
What we're doing right now, in fact, is we are actually going to have two websites. One that is marketed directly towards millennial, which is going to be very edgy, latest and greatest technology. We have two communities right now where we're really putting in a lot of technology. One would be our Lakewood Twin Homes. And what we're doing down there is we're including Bluetooth, whole house audio, a security system. The other thing that a lot of the millennials want is carefree living. So these also include snow removal as well as landscaping and the maintenance of the landscaping. It's close to the river, so it's a great location. That would be one community that's directly driven towards millennials.
So let's talk a little about, and we'll have to educate maybe some of those older listeners about what Bluetooth technology in a home even means. So how are you incorporating Bluetooth technology into these homes for millennials?
So what we're putting in the Lakewood Twin Homes, for example, is it's called Bluetooth whole house audio. And what it allows you to do is actually control the volume and the station from the home base of your system from a cell phone. So you can actually control all those features on your cell phone, any device that has Bluetooth capability.
So would that mean like your radio? You could, if you had like your home wired for sound or something, so you could be listening to your radio throughout your house. And if I want to turn up the volume on Super Talk 1270, then I could do it on my phone.
That's right, Lindsay. You
Cool.
got it. You got it.
Another thing that I've seen, and I'm wondering, what your observation is and what you've seen is far as requests go, would be that smart technology, even in your HVAC systems. And
Yep.
so, not having that little rotary dial anymore to determine your temperature, but having the digital displays and ability to check in on that remotely. Is that something that you're seeing?
Absolutely. One of the things that does separate us from a lot of the other builders in the area is we do have our own design center on site. And some of the things that you can select in our design center would be a digital programmable thermostat. We have a deadbolt on the front door that can be controlled via Bluetooth. So we're trying to incorporate more of those types of technologies into our homes, to name a few.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so also on this list of must-haves for millennials, it says that they have noticed that this demographic wants to be more involved in the building and planning process.
Absolutely. So what we've done is, for one, there's over 200 builders in the Bismarck-Mandan area. We like to think of ourselves as being a very structured builder in this area. We have a process in place. We take a lot of time dotting our I's and crossing our T's, so that a lot of the guesswork is taken out of the whole process with these buyers. We've kind of streamlined that process with having our own design center. We have a pre-construction meeting where, again, it's a time for everybody to get on board, make sure everybody's on the same page, and deliver the house of their dreams.
So when it comes to them being more involved in the building and planning processes, I would imagine that they are coming again because they're super educated. They've had access to technology and resources that we hadn't had outside of maybe going to the local library. Are they coming with everything they want and need in a home in advance rather than you sharing options? Are you seeing like Pinterest pictures and HGTV references and the like?
I don't see so much where they'll bring in pictures. The one thing that I have noticed about the millennials is when they come in, a lot of times I'm actually selling to the whole family. They'll usually bring their grandparents, their siblings. So, having that process in place kind of helps us keep things moving along. They do know what they want, for sure. And we feel that we offer a product to suit their needs.
Now, as far as they know what they want, sometimes there's a difference between what they want and what they can get. And a lot of that comes back to purchase power and affordability. So based on the commentary from Lindsay saying, there is access to capital available to purchase homes. North Dakota, we've got some wonderful programs to help you get into home ownership because we see the value of that as a state. But when you've got shoppers coming in, is their budget matching what they're able to afford and install in these homes?
Most of the time, what I'm seeing is a real mix. Some of these guys can afford, a $400,000 home. Some are at the $199,000 level. So it just varies, and that's unlike anywhere else in the country just because of our great job force that we have here in the economy. These guys can get well-paying jobs here, and they can afford more.
I can tell you from my experience on sitting on the lending side of it, and believe it or not, but it is very rare when I even have to deny an application or deny a home loan. I really feel that being in North Dakota myself and just talking about other North Dakotans is that we're very conservative people. It's just who we are. And a lot of times I can pre-approve somebody to purchase a home far more than they would even consider spending. So that they've already ran through this possible scenario of their new home, that they've run that through in their heads so many times that before they've even came to me, that they really know exactly where they want to be, exactly what they want to spend. And so with the help of our friends at Red Door, it really helps keep them on track too, because they have their design studio. So if they want maybe a door that swings left to right instead of right to left, that they don't have to worry about blowing their budget out of the water and turning the scenario into something that they thought through 5,000 times into something very, very different. It just really, really helps to keep them on track, and just with the controlled environment of their design center and just everything, it's just very, very helpful. So
we've been spending a lot of time talking about millennials, kind of who they are, what type of purchasing power they have, options for financing and securing the mortgage to enter into an agreement and purchase that first home. We also talked about some of their must-haves, and we decided, I think, amongst all of us that the flat roofs, while those would be appreciated elsewhere, we're just not going to recommend those in North Dakota. But let's spend a little bit of time talking about the advantage of new construction. Now, we, as an association, represent the building community. And so when you've got millennials who are in the market to shop for homes, Kenneth, if you could share with those listeners the advantages or benefits with choosing to, consider new construction as an option.
Okay. So I would say, to start that off, the first thing is, we are building in the most desirable locations right now in the Bismarck-Mandan area. Locations that are close to dining, nightlife. Our Lakewood Twin Homes are near the river channel access, golf courses, biking and walking trails. So that would be number one, because these guys, it's all about location. The second thing with the new build homes would be the energy efficiency. There's just no comparison to a new home versus an older home. All of our homes are 2x6 construction. What that means is there's more room to put more insulation in the walls. R21 on your walls, R50 in your ceilings. We use the best windows available in this area, which again is going to affect your utility bills and keep those costs low. We use a company called Simonton Casement Windows. I would say they're the Mercedes-Benz of windows that are available in this area. Some of the other things that we're doing is all of our homes include quartz countertops. One of the things that we've noticed about all of these buyers is they like to have hardwood surfaces. The technology, of course, that you can option out to put into our homes. What else would you add to that, Lindsay?
I'd say things that you've mentioned to me before would be, like you said, the hard surfaces on their floors, hard surfaces on the countertops. They're looking for, and maybe not that laminate countertop anymore, but maybe some of the granite or quartz like you talked about. The locations, I think, is just, you're spot on that. That's a big one.
And location is something that comes up and you see in a lot of articles is about this generation likes to kind of be in the middle of everything. So they want to be within walking distance of a lot of services and recreational opportunities. One thing that I found that was kind of interesting, though, was a statistic about millennials and how they, despite being delayed, still want to pursue the American dream. So a lot of these millennials do have home ownership in sight. It's just taking them a little bit longer to get there. And one of the statistics that they talked about, and this kind of surprised me because we peg a lot of times the younger generation with those who are seeking more of a metropolitan feel. But the statistic reads that 48% of millennials prefer their next home to be in the suburbs, while 38% want urban locations. So you still see quite a few that want to have that kind of homey family environment, but still you're saying access to those amenities and services is a must.
Yeah, I would think so. And, you mentioned the suburban feel. That's because a lot of the millennials grew up in those areas, so that's what they're accustomed to.
Some of the other statistics that they talked about is 74% of millennials plan to move over the next 5 years, with the top reason being a need for better housing. 64% expect to be married in 5 years, and 55% expect to have kids. So we're going to see a lot of millennials, a full 64%, moving into that next stage of their life that a lot of times preempts home ownership. So a lot of opportunity for our community to cater to this group. 75% believe home ownership is an important long-term goal, and 73% believe it's an excellent investment. So they see the benefits of home ownership, and they're getting there. It's just taking them a little bit longer. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association. You're listening to Super Talk 1270. We've got Kenneth Watkins from Red Door Homes and Lindsay Matter with Starian sticking with us through this break. We'll see you to the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
Right now, 43.
Our own radio station. Not Fargo, not the Twin Cities. Proud to be Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back. This is Dot Frank with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association on a Free-for-All Friday. We're talking about millennials, who they are, what their buying power look like, what they want in a new home or their first home. And now we're going to talk about how they get there, some of those next steps. Joining me in the studio today, I have Lindsay Matter, who is a regular guest, much appreciated for her insight when it comes to everything financing and home ownership. She is a mortgage lender with Starian Financial, along with Kenneth. Kenneth Watkins is a new home specialist with Red Door Homes, a company that's very familiar with getting home ownership or having home ownership become a reality for this age group and beyond. And so welcome back. We're going to talk now about the route to home ownership. One thing that I'd like to share first and foremost is that our association, the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association, just ended our fall parade of homes. And so there was a wonderful opportunity for those millennials out there and others to get in and see what new construction looks like in our neighborhoods across the Bismarck-Mandan and Lincoln communities. If you didn't have an opportunity to check out those homes, we encourage you still to consider taking a walk virtually through those homes by downloading our app. So if you go to your Android or Apple markets, search Parade Smart, that's one word, you'll be able to download an app and tune in to the Bismarck-Mandan Fall Parade of Homes houses. In there, you'll see all the homes that were made available for touring, and a lot of them have uploaded photos of the interior of their homes. So you can still kind of shop and browse through that app. Another resource is our website, which is bmhba.com. Right on the homepage is a short link to both of those app stores, so you can grab that app. Now, Kenneth, you guys had some homes in the Parade of Homes, showcased different levels of homes, because recognizing that not only across generations, there's kind of a diverse need for different types of houses, but even within the millennials, there's a wide range of buying power. So you had an entry-level home, which starts at what for your organization?
You can build an entry-level home with us for $197,990.
So $197,990, which is a great dollar amount considering kind of what averages are for our community.
That's right, and that's with the lot included. That would be a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath with a 2-stall garage, 2x6 construction. Again, the highest quality windows, a 10-year warranty that, by the way, is transferable. Quartz countertops, Train 95% efficient HVAC system. So it's not a house that by any means is stripped down. It's a tremendous value for you millennials out there.
So now, Lindsay, not to put you on the spot, but for those listeners, 197 is a big number still. When you look across the board and what you can buy when it comes to housing for 197, it's very attractive. But what does that mean in a monthly payment amount, approximately?
Well, it obviously depends on your down payment, what you put down, and what type of loan program that you choose. A big thing that really contributes to what your total monthly payment is going to be is the town or the city that you live in, and how the property taxes are and how they all play out. The city of Mandan is really slick with new construction. You do have a $75,000 tax abatement for the first 2 years, so you get some relief in the property taxes, which is super cool. Bismarck, the mill levy is very low, which contributes to low property taxes. Same with Lincoln. So a lot of times I see people getting into their first home with their taxes, specials, principal and interest, homeowners insurance, the whole ball of wax for sometimes $1,200, $1,300. So
12,
you can't rent for that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And that's one way to put it into perspective is you consider what you're shelling out for monthly rent and how far that money would go in creating some equity for you long term and creating that investment that housing makes. So when it comes to millennials and the processes, if they're interested in home ownership and new homes specifically, we'd encourage them to get out and talk to a mortgage lender like Lindsay at Starion. After they've met with Lindsay and determined what they can afford and the available funds, they can swing in and speak with people like yourself, right, Kenneth?
That's right. Now, we know that mostly the millennials out there right now are probably already surfing our website, and that's www.reddoorhomesnd.com. From there, you could make an appointment with one of our new home specialists. Again, we are located at 3100 North 14th Street in Bismarck. And what we normally do on your first visit is we have what's called a discovery appointment. What that entails is you come into the office, you're going to sit down with myself, and we're going to have a face-to-face meeting and talk more about your needs, and we're going to review, what we build, where we build, and how we build. We will also give you a design center tour that's on site and explain the process. Another incentive for you right now, since it is such a great time to buy or build a house, is we are giving $10,000 away just for visiting our tour center. There's no strings attached. So you can come in, sit down with us, tour our model home center, and you get entered into a drawing for $10,000.
Well, if that's not incentive to swing in and say hi to Kenneth, I don't know what is.
Agreed.
So those are the processes. Meet with folks like Lindsay at Starion Financial. Talk about where you sit financially and what you're capable of affording when it comes to new home construction, and then go talk to people like Kenneth over at Red Door Homes. Sit down, locate maybe potentially a lot, discover which neighborhoods are available or best suited to your needs. Take a peek at what type of floor plans are available and some of the options. And for those millennials, a lot of that discussion might tend to trend around technology in the home, which we talked about is something that is available here in our market, that Bluetooth technology and remote check-ins when it comes to your homes. I like the idea that you had shared, Kenneth, earlier about the door handle that you can also access through technology. So interesting, neat stuff for those millennials that are in the market to buy. When it comes to, actually closing, I mean, are there some considerations as far as timing? So let's say I'm just starting to get into the process of considering home ownership. I'm going to go talk to Ken and see what they have available, start to finish. So I come in, meet with you. I'm excited. I have the availability to purchase. When can I move into my next home?
It's a great question. So we have homes that are different stages throughout the area. We have homes that are move-in ready right now. We have homes that are in the process of being built. Or we can go pick one of our lots and build one of our plans on that. The great thing about our process is that we guarantee our completion dates as well. It's in writing on our contracts, so you can count on moving in at the date that we tell you.
Which is important, particularly for those millennials who are coming out of a lease agreement.
Absolutely.
We don't want anybody homeless, that's for sure.
That's right.
And so the processes are all there. I would like to share with the listeners some information about our association and support that we provide for millennials or anyone else looking to purchase a home. First and foremost, our website, bmhba.com, has a lot of invaluable information. We have access to a membership directory that will detail out all of the builders that we have as members to our association. You can search by custom home builders as well as production builders. We also have developers. We have real estate agents. We work with them quite often to help people make that route to home ownership, as well as lending institutions, because that's a very important step in this process. So make sure you check that out. Additionally, we have all sorts of events and activities for people who are interested in discovering more about home ownership in the community. Most recently, again, we referenced that Fall Parade of Homes. We'll host that again in the spring. An excellent opportunity to get in, kind of shop, window shop for the types of homes that you want, maybe particular designs or constructions or neighborhoods that you want to get a feel for. Additionally, we have coming up this spring our home show, which is another excellent opportunity to get out. Many of our builder members have exhibits at that particular event. It's a nice way to introduce yourself, grab some literature or information. And then in the meantime, always, the web addresses of each individual builder provide tremendous resources. So Kenneth, for yours, if people are curious and they want to kind of dabble in on their own time, are your plans available for people to peruse? What about lot availability?
We don't put our lot availability online, but we do have our plans. And what's nice about our site is that the plans are interactive. You can take some of the structural options that are available for our plans and kind of play around with them online to see what it's going to look like. You can pick your plan. You can even pick some of your finishes online, bring it into our design center, and we can make things a lot more streamlined for you.
Excellent. And now I want to go back. We referenced that survey that we all took when it comes to how millennial each of us are. And I just want to share with the audience some of the questions that were posed on that Pew Research Center survey that led to the very high score by Lindsay, the modest score by myself, and surprisingly low score for Kenneth, despite how young he looks right here in the studio.
Thank you.
This morning. So some of the questions asked that will help you determine how millennial you are included, did you not watch or watch more than an hour of television programming in the past 24 hours? What's your television viewing habit, Kenneth?
I watch maybe an hour.
Maybe an hour, yeah. Lindsay?
I would say less than that.
Less than that. I think that's leading us to be pretty millennial. How about reading a daily newspaper in the past 24 hours?
I do read the newspaper daily. I know most
dropping that
millennials
score.
don't.
Likewise, I do the same.
So again, kind of like how North Dakota is an anomaly when it comes to the national statistics revolving around millennials, it seems like we are also in that group. Did you play video games in the past 24 hours? Either of you?
I did not. No.
I did not either.
We are failing this test miserably. How about having only a cell phone or landline?
We only have cell phones at our house.
Sure. Yeah, I just have a cell phone.
Only cell phones. How about text messaging? Now, this is something that's attributed to millennials, that they're texting always and often. How many text messages do you guys send out?
Since we've been on the radio, or
Oh!
no, I would say I definitely send more than 10 a day.
More than 10 a day?
I do between 10 and 15 a day.
There we go. Okay. I mean, I can see kind of why. So those of you who are listening, if you want to find out whether you are a millennial or not, make sure you Google that Pew Research test. How millennial are you? Would be anxious to see whether or not you pair up. I would like to say Terry in her office, she is very millennial despite her true age, which is really cool to see. She's one of those hip ladies. Stay tuned for more on Super Talk 1270, but our time here is done. This is Dot with the Bismarck-Mandan Homebuilders Association.